Hello everybody, my name is Kenneth and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be starting my reaction to Pablo's Alon album. We will be doing the songs Presyon, Wala, which used to be known as the question mark song, and The Boy Who Cried Wolf. If I look a little bit down and dejected in this video, I already filmed this intro and I already started reacting to Presyon, and it turned out for some reason my OBS had reset all my settings. So from about 1:23 in of the actual reaction to Presyon, didn't have any audio, whether song or my mic. And so I have fixed it, I think. But yeah, the first 1:23 unfortunately, of this song will not be my genuine first reactions to the song. I'll be pausing to give you the thoughts that I did have, but unfortunately, they're not going to be my full first reactions because I had of the issue that I had, and that I apologize for. Pause warning. As I always say, this is not the original content. If you want the original content, it's there on YouTube. It's there on streaming platforms. This is a reaction video. I pause a lot. I'm autistic. I often pause just generally anyway in order to process my thoughts as well as relay them to you. If that's not for you, that's totally okay. Let us try again with this reaction. Let's get into Presyon. Let's go. Sorry again, you guys, for this. I did just want to say I love the way that this sounds going in. The intro is great. But I'll pause up until 1:23 and give my thoughts as we go. And then obviously from then on will be new. But let's go. One thing I didn't say, actually, I want to comment on the first time through. The way that the visuals of this look from the beginning, it's giving almost like mixed media, like they've printed off frames and like drawn on them kind of idea. I didn't say that in the first time, but I was thinking it. But yeah, sorry. I do like that violin. Okay, so I paused here in the first reaction. I'm going to pause here. I said, again, I'm sorry, this is not my first reaction to this part of the song. I said in my first reaction to this that it felt like a conversation with God or with a higher power, kind of calling out how other people can be disrespectful, how they can kind of be almost kind of like disgusting in how they act around people and how they treat people. Again, I love the almost traditional instrumentation of the song thus far, and obviously I know what's about to happen musically, but at the time I was really enjoying the way that this kind of began. Yeah. Sa leeg ng kanyang kaluluwa't sinabit sa puno ng pamantayan nila habang pasa ng bigat ng bawat panghuhusga. Dama mo ba? Here, and again, up until the point where my reaction, I had to restart the video, obviously I'll be saying this. The first time that I went through this part of the song, I had a multitude of theories, but the current one that I'm holding on to feels like this is about how he felt that he and maybe his other members were treated, both during the training period by maybe the staff, of their company show break, maybe, as well as people in the press outside of the group and the staff. Um, I was talking about how I felt that maybe when it refers to the tree of standards, obviously SB19 as a group were treated with contempt by a lot of people. A lot of people thought that the group was a derivative of K-pop, that it was just a copy and things like that. Um, and so I was thinking that maybe that had something to do with it, as well as obviously the adversity that both that not just him but his members all kind of went through, getting to this point. Um, uh, yeah, so that was kind of my thoughts then. Um, I really like the section that's about to come up again. 123, I think, is where I paused, because I paused and I happened to look over, and I saw, oh, it's not recording anything. Woo! So apologies. Yeah, I like this part. I talked about how the rhythm of that, just the way that it's like he's metaphorically chopping wood, like with every syllable. It just feels like just a verbal kind of attack on the line. Um, I uh just the way this change up happened as well. Um, I'd kind of described it as going from like a conversation with someone. Obviously, I said like a higher power, but I was kind of likening it to a conversation with someone who maybe agrees with you, has the same kind of views as you, but you're kind of a little bit restrained, and they're kind of like, oh, they'll get their comeuppance, you know, that kind of thing, where it's not necessarily feeling the way that you feel. Um, or at least doesn't completely encapsulate how you feel. And then this part of the song feels like to me where if this had a music video, he would like be in front of like a body length mirror, you know, like almost like attacking the mirror with these lines. It feels like that's what I visualize in my head if this had a video, like a music video. I love the use of the metaphor of wounds as tattoos, something that you can cover with a regard that, um, um, with a regard for others. Pablo feels very, and obviously he's angry at these people. To me, it's the bystander effect. So it's that idea of whatever injustices or lack of respect or whatever that he's specifically referring to in these lyrics. Um, the bystander effect is that kind of idea of like, I'm not going to do anything, someone else will do it. You know, I don't have to speak up or decry this or, you know, call this out because someone else will do it. And so I love this idea that these innocent people who are supposedly blind and deaf, you know, they don't see anything, they don't hear anything, so they don't speak on it. You know, it's that kind of that see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil kind of thing. Um, um, and again, there's still like, although he's angry here, the way that he describes the wounds as tattoos again, and again, the idea of being able to cover it up, it almost feels like in with the way he refers to that, it's like that idea of him putting other people before himself, rather than like being like, ow, I'm in pain, ow, I'm, you know, metaphorically, um, or da 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 da. It's kind of like he's saying like, yes, I have been dealing with stuff, I have been struggling with this, that, and the other, but I will put someone else's needs over mine in the, you know, in this situation, because no one else is going to going to stand up for me or stand up for us. You know, if you take maybe the group idea that I said. Um, there's also with the tattoo metaphor a very real linking of trauma to building the kind of person that Pablo has become. Because obviously, again, when we talk about adversity and struggles, all of those things have left a mark on him. Um, maybe not surface level, um, but that has affected the way he thinks about things, the way that he talks about things, the way that he writes about things. Um, and so that again, that metaphor of a tattoo is really, really fitting with um, just um, how deep this trauma and this pain and this struggle has been. I love the panning here. There's various panning moments, like there's a laugh over here, and then I think coming up there's like, again, I'm sorry, I've heard up to 123. There's like I think a growl on the right side, and so again the playing with space here, um, especially with the lyric on screen here about from voices with no conviction. It's really placing you as the listener in like the center of the soundscape, and then allowing sounds to come in different places. Um, what I really like about this part, the one I think it was the one with the truth will be the sorry, 1 second. Sorry. I'll only hold back if the truth will be the one to end it. So to me, that lyric there, it gives the whole kind of section to me feels like these people that are saying all these bad things, they're doing all these bad things, you know, all of that kind of thing. It's almost like when he says he'll only hold back if the truth will be the one to end it, it's almost like he's saying, if they trip up, I won't say anything. I won't call people out. If if they get wrapped up in their own lies and then get caught out on it, I'll step back, but until that happens, I will continue to call out these people, and kind of be like, I won't let these injustices just lie. I won't lie down and take it. Yeah. Sorry. If it's not obvious that I've never done a reaction like this where I've had to start again. And I'm not going to be someone who fakes the reaction being like, this is totally the first time. Obviously from 1:23 onwards it will be, but so I'm really, really sorry that I can't to this, because when I first heard this first minute, it really it hit me straight away, and obviously I was able to be kind of like, so I apologize for that. Blame technology, blame Windows updates. Sorry, yeah. What I like about this section, I know I just paused him mid-scream, because this is about actually where I got to 3 seconds ago, and so that yeah, everything from now will be new to me. When I first heard this verse, it felt like this is where he is doing the tackling and stuff. It's it becomes very primal, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Even visually, um, it's like this lone figure, kind of this lone figure standing, like standing for justice almost. And then you have the return to trees visually with the trees, here, and the mob, and it's, I don't know if this is a misinterpretation, but just because of how the lyrics are, um, it feels like this mob is kind of representative not just of public opinion shifting, but also kind of us as fans, because we're now in their corner. You know, when something isn't right, when something is going wrong, when something is fishy, something's not quite right, we are there with them, being kind of like, no, this isn't right, you know, kind of thing. So that feels like that visual is almost like a representative representation of us, maybe, and that kind of that strength in numbers almost. Um, yeah, I really, really like this. The first time I heard it, I really loved just the contrast between, I called it the chorus beforehand. I don't know if it's classed as a chorus, and what I'm classing as the verses. Um, I just love that, and the way that the way that it kind of moves with the song. Everything from now, um, thankfully, everything still looks like it's working, but everything from now will be new to me. So I apologize again for that. But I did just want to kind of give you my thoughts to, what I had already seen. So yeah, everything from now pretty much is new to me, and I'm sorry again for the issues.
Lumipas ang araw na natili sa aking kahon. Ilang taong nakagapos naghihintay sa panahong ako ay makalaya sa sariling pagkakakulong. Di ko kailangan ng tulong kasi mas kailangan niyo yun. Pinili kong manahimik ka.
He says, I don't need help because you need it more. I feel like from what I've learned about not just Pablo, but the members in general, but especially Pablo, being kind of the leader, he always puts others first. Even potentially, just from what I've seen, he puts everyone kind of first, even at his detriment. Obviously, there's been lyrics, before about like how he tried to make friends with people, and even those friends would, still provoke you, still do things, um, or even potentially betray you, kind of maybe at the extreme end of that. Um, and even here, it's like it's almost like, yes, he's calling these people out for being disrespectful, for being, um, disgusting and distasteful, perhaps. Obviously, he hasn't said that, but that's what I'm inferring. But even then, there's an element of he's still doing it for them, like he's still putting them first in that way. The idea again of being trapped in his room, being imprisoned and bound, those very deliberate, um, very deliberate word choices. Um, it the idea that you have to hide in your own space, is something that I've definitely dealt with, and maybe you guys have as well. Feeling that you're like, even in like the space that you call yours isn't yours. Um, you know, again, and he's putting the needs of others ahead of him there too. Um, it almost sounds to me like in that situation, if you take out of the song, it's almost like if someone came into that space, he would become like even smaller. Do you know what I mean? He'd trap himself even more, because he'd say like, "Oh yeah, you can have," in this metaphor. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, you can have my bed, you can have my things," and it almost in my head I just imagine like him literally, like metaphorically cornering himself, as he like has that same mentality of giving himself to people, and giving and putting other people ahead of him. Um, I might be misinterpreting that, but that's just kind of the tone that I get from this.
Huwag makalaya sa sariling pagkakakulong. Di ko kailangan ng tulong kasi mas kailangan niyo yun. Pinili kong manahimik kahit ang kaluluwa'y gutom. Nilayo ang sarili dahil nga alam na alam kong wala akong ideya sa kung hanggang saan kanyang tugon. Ngayong basag ng katahimikan, damhin mo ang presyon. Malugod!
So he says here, even though my soul is starving, I distanced myself because I knew all too well that I had no idea how far his response would go. So again, we're harkening back to what he's already said before about kind of staying silent if the truth will be the end, kind of thing. I'm paraphrasing. Here again, we're harkening back to I'm thinking higher power. He's looking for some kind of divine justice from God, and again, it's harkening back because it's like he's wanting the comeuppance for these people from God, but he doesn't know how far God is actually going to involve himself in this, and so he realizes that he has to unbind himself. He has to free himself, and he has to almost make justice for himself.
Kanyang tugon ngayong basag ng katahimikan, damhin mo ang presyon. Malugod! Akong ginawit kasunod, may panlalangit hugot. Saksak sa langit, pumagitan pa ang langit. Mga ganit, pansalit, putukan kahiyan at ang pasakit. Alulod ko'y pinununo ng ganit. Nakatugon, nakatapos sa panunong banik.
Sorry. This idea, he's hearkening himself to Jesus at this point. This metaphor of being stuck on a tree definitely gives that kind of Jesus on the cross dying for our sins kind of parallel. He talks about here being willingly put on a hook, followed by mockery, stabbed repeatedly in case the heavens intervene. And he's twisting that that biblical story to kind of, again, he's pushing himself to his limits in the hopes that of kind of like of tolerance, pushing his tolerance, putting himself through all this pain in the hopes of some form of divine justice that isn't coming. And even here, he's calling the divine justice out. Instead of ending the shame and suffering, you filled me with anger. In this metaphor, obviously he'd want God to act. He'd want God to step in, smite those people who are treating him this way, and then save him from this hook that he's been put on. I said a tree earlier, didn't I? My apologies for that. He wants all of this, but instead he's filled with anger. And there's this kind of almost like a double meaning to me here. He's filled with anger towards the people who are mistreating him. And so in that way, he's almost not the answer he's wanting, but he's getting, it sounds like he's getting the answer from God, an answer from God, in that God is giving him the strength to be angry at these people. But at the same time, there's this other meaning that I kind of glean, where it's kind of a more cynical kind of anger, where it's not just an anger at those people, it's an anger at God for making him have to deal with this. It feels to me like it's almost like why me, why this, why are you doing this to me? Anger, not just a strength in anger kind of thing. I'm interested to see where this goes.
Pinuno nyo ng galit, nakatugon, nakatakas sa panunong balik. Malala, alagay nyo ngayong nakawala. Na ako sa aking tanikala, at isang lolo, baliwala. Umasakit tulong, tiniyuno, nagawa sa mga inanakit ko. Palahibo, tatayo sa gagawin ko. Itong haso ng digurado, kung nilagisa.
Ooh. This is a verdict not from a judge, but from someone who got betrayed. Oh. Sorry, I'm just basking in the lyrical genius of Pablo. Yeah. To me, there's, and obviously I don't want to speak for Pablo because I'm, that's not my place. But there feels almost like if you imagine religion as a social construct, if you're referring back to the primal, this feels just like a bloodless animal. When I was listening to this, all I kept thinking was the image of a wolf tearing down its prey, going after someone or something that wronged him. It was very much animalistic. He was going for revenge, and as I was listening, I almost imagined like the wolf wouldn't stop until it drew blood. Do you know what I mean? Like until maybe even like metaphorically, this person was dead. Again, I'm saying metaphorically, just for obvious reasons. But there feels like again, and that's not, please don't think I'm trying to belittle anyone by saying religion is a social construct, but in this, there feels like religion as a social construct versus primal animal nature that we all have. And so when we're all being civilized, there's obviously a place for religion as a social construct and for a belief system. But in this, it feels like it's been detached. And now it's just the animal is running free. And here we're coming back to an eye for an eye. We're going back into this chorus refrain kind of sound section of the song. Once again, Pablo's lyricism is second to none. His command of language is, and again, the way he weaves things like religion into his lyrics is, I think, so interesting. And I can't think of anyone off the top of my head who has a similar handle on lyricism like that. I'm just going to check something really quickly. Okay, so yeah, I was checking to see if Josue had any writing credits on the song. Obviously, he has production credits, but I was seeing to see if I needed to also give Josue his flowers there for lyricism. But no, this is Pablo. Yeah, just wow.
Mata, pangil sa pangil, pinsalang ginawa, iyong ginawa, ngayon ay harapin. Ramdam na ba ang presyon? Ramdam na ba ang presyon? Handa ka na ba sa mga bunga ng iyong aksyon? Ramdam na ba ang presyon? Ramdam na ba ang presyon? Wala ka nang magagawa, wala konsiderasyon. Ramdam na ba ang presyon? Ramdam na ba ang presyon? Ikaw naman ang may gawa, ito ang iyong leksyon. Ramdam na ba ang presyon? Ramdam na ba ang presyon? Wala ka nang magagawa pa.
I'm loving the way this is Oh, okay. I was just listening to the accompaniment of that. I loved throughout this. I've loved the I've loved the inclusion of the strings in this. Um, I'm assuming violin sounds. Um, I loved the rising motif, and I was actually expecting it to like continue, but instead what happened is instead of it continually rising, it rose to a point, the motif, and then there's this chorus, um, and it's almost like if we go back to kind of what I was saying earlier, it's almost like that is the divine justice, almost like his act here of doing this was the divine justice all along, kind of thing, if that makes sense. Um, I also love just the way the end kind of kind of sound was here um at the end of the song. Yeah, just it felt like the final note of a battle. It was almost like this whole song was the highs and lows of a battle, and then culminating in that final justice, and then as kind of almost like the dust clearing after the battle, after the fight, after the struggle, and then that just kind of it's odd to say this, a sound representing silence. Just I really, really like that. My only thing, and it's not to do with the song, I wish I'd have been able to have reacted to this from start to finish without the technical issues. The technical issues, and I know you're probably going to be annoyed me keep bringing it up for this part of the reaction, and I'm really sorry. Me having to break up my reaction, obviously there, I really ruined the pacing for me, and I really wish that I could have just been able to react to the whole thing from start to finish as my first reaction. Um, yeah, I really, really loved this. Um, as well, coming off of the back, because obviously I'm aware, I'm basing the track list, by the way, on Pablo's own playlist that's on his channel for his music. That this is the second song. So after coming off of La Luna, um, it feels like a very fitting evolution for the story arc. Because we've gone from we've gone from the kind of like um, the lyricism of La Luna, kind of um, talking about again, got my shackles on, um, and you best leave me alone, and all that kind of thing. That almost now feels like a threat that this song acts upon, um, if that makes sense. So yeah, so it's almost like La Luna was almost like a warning of like you keep pushing me and this is what happens, and then Presyon just feels like okay, you didn't heed my warning, here I am, kind of thing. Um, wow. Um, I really, really, really enjoyed that. Again, the way last kind of thought before I move on, the way he plays with rhythm, the way that he plays with structure, um, I just really, really enjoyed the journey that I went on with this. Um, yeah. Um, sorry, I'm processing it still. Um, But yeah, we're going to go check out Wala. Please let me know if I'm pronouncing that right. Which was formerly known as question mark question mark question mark question mark. Did I do 4 question marks? I think it was 4 question marks. But we're going to go do that next, and see the development of that song, and where we go.
Lumalalim na naman ang gabi. Hudyat nito'y pamamalagi sa gunita ng pagsisisi. Di ko maintindihan ang bigatin. Siguro nga'y hindi lubos na kilala aking sarili.
First of all, I'm trying to remember back to that video, because obviously I reacted to Walla when it was just that question mark song. It sounds like for at least this part of the song that the recording is the same one as it was, but captured with these visuals, are especially kind of haunting, because especially about searching for himself, not knowing himself. Obviously, the wolf looks to the moon for guidance, and here we have the image of a person in kind of a shell of a building, a damaged, dilapidated building looking out. And it's almost like the visuals are a representation of him, kind of his broken, wounded body, as it were, maybe even mind. And this window out to the moon with him sat there is kind of like he's trying to find his purpose, trying to find his reason to go on, keep believing, keep pushing forward. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where we go in terms of how the recording sounds, and how it's produced. I have been told, and forgive me if I'm misremembering, that this has been developed and changed since the song that I knew.
Ikaw ba'y may alam sa aking di naramdam? Patulad nilang walang pakialam. O mahal, ikaw nga ba'y tunay na kaibigan? Lahat mo lang sa'king mundo ay kalungkutan.
I love that use of questioning opposites. Are you my friend, or are you bringing all of the sadness to me? I can't remember what I said when I reacted to the original version, and that's so maybe I might repeat myself throughout this, from what I said then. But obviously, if you have a godlike figure as we do in this song, you believe that God is compassionate and caring. You believe that they're omnipotent and that they created everything around you. And so you're constantly balancing these questioning opposites, because you can't say that they're bringing you all the good things, that they're there for you, and also bringing you the bad things if they're truly compassionate. But you also can't say that godlike figure is omnipotent if they only created half of that, or even none of that, you know. Um, and so I think this existential question that Pablo is asking in both the original version of the song and this, um, is a valid one, because what type of God would just sit by and watch as someone gets hurt, as someone goes through trauma and struggles in their lives, as someone struggles with their identity? Um, you know, often in times of those extreme crises, a person reaches for faith. And for a lot of people, I will be totally honest, I am one of them. In those moments of crisis, you reach out, you beg for anything, and nothing changes. And those are the moments that you lose your faith. And I'll be very honest, that happened to me when I was very young. Um, and yeah, I can imagine the feeling that maybe Pablo feels with this song, where he wants to believe in this force. Um, and I'm not saying he doesn't believe in this force, but there is that feeling of questioning, like, well, why are you putting me through this? If you really love me, because that's the whole, the whole doctrine kind of religion is God loves you. Well, if he loves me, why is he treating me like this? These are the questions that Pablo is asking here.
Dapat ka nga bang pasalamatan kung kasiyahay sa tuwing ika'y lumisan?
Ooh. When happiness is present every time you leave, how can he thank God for that? How can he thank a higher power for that? That's that to me, and again, I'm not putting this on Pablo, this is just how, if I was saying this is how I'd say it. How can I have faith when my happiness is without faith? Like, my happiness only exists without faith. That's what I would be saying in that situation. And I'm making that clear because I don't want to speak on Pablo's faith, because that's his faith. That's personal to him. Oh my God. I loved the first version of this song. But forgive me, I fully went into this intending, before reacting to this, to read, because I'll be honest, I haven't gone back to that video in a long time. But before I watched this, I was going to go back and rewatch the original, if it's still available, which I think it is, which I didn't do, because I was going to see, as we went through this song, I was going to try and remember the differences, but I didn't, and I'm really regretting that decision, because as much as I'm appreciating the song, I can't remember, and please, Pablo, forgive me, everyone forgive me, I can't remember what parts were the original song and which parts have been edited, adapted, changed so far. The beginning definitely sounded to me that it was still in the same spirit of the original recording for the original version of the song. But as I listen, I can't remember in my head the original lyrics enough to be able to go, oh, that's changed. So this is almost like, to me, I'm appreciating this as just a brand new song in its own right, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you guys. That feels different. I know I just said, but that feels different lyrically. That feels very different lyrically. That whole verse being a self-reflection. And again, I don't want to speak on Pablo's faith, but there's an element there of personal agency and responsibility that he's taking there, where you could look at it two ways. You could say that God made me this way, so I have to love myself for that, for to appreciate what God has made. But again, there, as someone like me that doesn't believe in anything, it's almost there is that element, an interpretation as well, of my faith in you is shaken so much that I can't believe that you made me this way. And so in the second interpretation, it's like there's an element of freedom, being kind of like, I have to love myself, and almost kind of the inference of that, I have to make myself in an image that pleases me, almost. Because obviously again with scripture, we are all made in God's image. That's the line of scripture. And so it feels like here there's almost an agency of, I have to find the parts of me that I love and make the rest of me in that image. Yeah. And it will be, he used the word slowly force myself. The process to accept yourself and love yourself is not just a slow process, but it's a constant process. I don't think there's ever a moment, whether you're faithful or faithless, when you look at your kind of yourself, where you don't constantly have to force yourself to see the good parts in you, because it's when you start seeing the sadder and the darker parts, it's then when you start to lose faith in yourself, and you start to struggle as a person that way.
ng sarili ay mahalin. Ikaw lang ay alam sa aking di naramdam.
That little cry in his voice.
Wag na wag kang biglang mag-iwan.
That feels different as well. Again, I'm so sorry that I'm struggling to remember. And again, I was so excited to get into this today. Technical issues aside, I was so excited to get into this. I completely forgot that I was going to rewatch, because that's why, for apart from obviously wanting to react to everything that I'm reacting to, that was a big reason why I hadn't started this album reaction yet, because I knew that before this specific song that I was going to re-listen to the original. And so obviously I wanted the time to be able to do that. And now I'm kind of like, I love the way that, again, speaking, on this, in terms of the kind of the faith aspect, I love the way that here it becomes an appreciation for this God. Because he says here, please don't you ever leave me. Yeah, I wanted to make sure there wasn't anything else. Please don't you ever leave me. And so rather than what I was kind of saying about the two interpretations, obviously we're leaning on to the interpretation of, well, I'm made in his image. I have to learn to love myself because, of that. And so here it's almost as he's realizing that he needs to love himself, that rekindles his appreciation of his faith and his love for God, in that way. I want to hear that note before the the next part of the song. I love that. I love the way, just vocally, the way he does that note. It starts very kind of small, and then as the note kind of continues, it goes from being very small to much more filled out. I think I might have said this in the first version of the song, because I can't remember, and I'm beating myself up. I really am. You guys might not think it's that big of a deal, but I like my plans. But if I didn't, I'm saying it now with this song. The use of the chorus in this song, to me, feels like if you take the whole song as like a questioning of faith and reaffirming faith kind of song. To me, the choruses feel like that occasional dip where you question whether you still have faith. Obviously, the first chorus is a lot more accusatory, because it's kind of like, are you really my friend, or are you just here? Because you're making all of this bad stuff happen. So it's there's an anger to it. Whereas when the chorus comes around again, it more feels like he's quite secure in kind of his feelings of faith. But there's that little slip. And I feel like everyone that has a faith, whether they admit it or not, has those slips where they question something. And I'm not saying that they lose their faith, not anything like that. It's just that little wobble that they have. And then they have that little wobble, and then they find comfort in their faith again, and that little wobble goes away. And that's wonderful. And so that feels like that's what the choruses are to me. Because I don't know, it feels softer this time, I feel like, so far. Okay, maybe not there. Sorry, I just wanted to say with the choruses again. With this line, when happiness is present every time you leave. Obviously, I already said before what I thought. There's an element with this line, and I don't know if I'm just making it up. It's like when you're happy and you're secure, you almost forget about your faith. It just becomes like a natural kind of part of your life. Everything's great. And it's almost like when you're sad, or when you're going through trauma or anguish, because a lot of people do, they reach out to their faith. But there's this interesting kind of feeling here of when everything's fine, because of how the faith winds into your day-to-day life, and because of your lack of struggles and stuff, it's almost like he's not there. And then when you are struggling, because it disrupts how you've kind of wound your faith into your day-to-day life, it becomes almost like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like you notice he's gone. If that makes sense. It's kind of like, and this might sound silly, but it's almost like, you know, when you put like an air freshener in a room. If you imagine the kind of the scent being God in the situation, you smell the scent, and then after a few minutes you don't anymore. But then the minute, you know, a bad smell comes in, just like in real, like in life, when something bad happens, you notice that the smell that you notice that smell, that first smell is gone. That scent, that first scent is gone. And so in the same way, you notice, you feel like God has left you. But you know, again, faith teaches you he's there all the time. You know, God is up there all the time. If I remember rightly, the moon god that's referred to in this song is not a he, but I can't remember. So please correct me. But I'm using he pronouns for the foreseeable in this, and so it's that almost it's I guess it's appreciation in the same way that you don't appreciate the smell after because you get used to it. When you're going through good things, you stop appreciating the godliness in your life then. And then when something bad happens, you're aware of it, and it's like a constant cycle of appreciation versus loss of appreciation, and those also always seem to follow a pattern of good things. You forget to appreciate your faith, and then in the bad times, you do nothing but appreciate your faith. I'm gonna appreciate this again because I have to. The way that he is playing that guitar and singing, I can just visualize him in a room playing like, I could in my head I visualize him playing till his fingers bleed as and singing, and in my head I have like a visual of like singing until he loses his voice, just in the way that he's really putting everything into this section of the song. And obviously with the lyrics, it's exactly kind of he what I was saying. He's appreciating this God. He's appreciating their presence in his life. And he's giving everything to him, but it's, or to them. I'll say them, to them. But there's an element of selfishness because it's, again, and I don't want to put words into Pablo's mouth metaphorically here. But again, it's that he forgot about. It's like he forgot about him during the good parts of his life, and remembered him in the bad. And is just kind of like, he's showing all of this appreciation to get back to the first, but in my head, it's the question of, is it cyclical? Is it going to happen again? Is he going to forget his God if he does right it? You know, these injustices, the struggles, this pain that he's feeling. Do you see what I mean? In my head, I see him on his knees. Okay, I remember from the original song there was also a moment like that. And I think I said exactly this. Did I say exactly the same thing both times? Because if I did, I'm sorry for repeating myself across two videos, two different, but just the way again that ends.
Lubayan mo nga ako.
I'm just getting to. Okay. So what I was gonna say there, kind of undermines everything I've said about the rest of the song. It almost feel, and again, maybe I'm misinterpreting, but it feels there like that section of the song is almost like in kind of that cyclical thing. He goes good ups downs, and then when he goes to the "Please Leave Me Alone," and I may have said this during the original version of the song, it's almost like he's given up on his faith in that moment. I'm not saying he's given up permanently. I'm not putting metaphorical words into his mouth, but it's almost like he's trying to break that cycle of reverence to forgetfulness. Because you hear even the way that the song is produced throughout. And again, I assumed maybe that there's levels of the original in the recording, like mixed into the recording, and I'm not sure anymore. But if you listen to the tonal quality throughout, obviously they're in a room. He's in a room recording this that has a lot of reverb and a lot of space. And when the minute the guitar kind of breaks off and the line "Please Leave Me Alone" comes in, it sounded to me like all of that space disappeared. I don't know if he was recording in a literal spacey room and then they changed for that, or if it was just an effect on the overall song that was then removed at the end. But it gives that feeling of being in the presence of something greater. Literally there's space, and then when this last line comes in, all that space just gone. And also the visual again of this. It's odd. When I look at this image that we've been presented with throughout the song, at first I was thinking that it was reverent. It was, looking up at the moon, praying to them, asking for their help, asking, all of these existential questions. But then here at the end, it almost looks to me, and I apologize if this is not meant to offend anyone. When I look at this photo at the end, rather than the character looking for a deity or looking at a deity, it's almost like they're just looking at a moon. They're just in their dilapidated home, and they're looking out and they're just looking at the moon. And there's no, we've gone from, because in the beginning, when I looked at this, I was like, oh, this is representing the conversation. This is, representing the reverence. And now here, it's like a person looking at a painting. It's just a thing. There's no meaning there anymore. And I don't know, and again, I don't want to accidentally offend anyone by saying that, because I don't, that, theology and and faith is a deeply personal thing, but that's immediately kind of what I get um from this. Um um Yeah. Um, if I remember correctly, again, it's been a while, when I reacted to the original version of this song, did I cry? I, I remember crying, but I've cried at so many videos, genuinely cried at so many videos, because I know some people are like, probably like, oh, you cry a lot. Is it fake? No, it's not fake. But I feel like I cried at the first listen to the original. And then when I hear this, while I don't cry, obviously I still feel the song, but I feel it differently. And I don't know if it's because of the end that makes me feel this way, but there's a maturity to this performance that I don't, in this version, that I don't feel necessarily was in the original. I feel like the original had an almost boyish, youthful, almost like a child angry at a parent or someone. That kind of, and I don't mean that in like a negative way, but like it felt like that kind of, because obviously, again, religiously, um, a god is a father, God, and so that's why I kind of tie it in there from what I remember. And then with this version, it feels a lot more grounded and a lot more mature. And this is going to sound stupid, especially if a lot of the original recording is mixed in with this. Um, and again, I'm kicking myself that I didn't re-listen to the original before doing this, just to really have it fresh in my mind. Um, but yeah, there's a maturity to the song, and it doesn't hit me in the same way. It doesn't in the way that the first one kind of made me want to cry, and I think again I did cry. This one didn't have that effect on me. It made me sad, but at the end, and maybe this is coming from, and again, I'm not putting words into his mouth, but coming from a person that doesn't believe in faith, doesn't have faith, there is almost an appreciation of the end, because it felt like there was through that line, there was a breaking of the chains that tied him to his faith and made him feel like he needed God in that way. I don't know. Um, Once again, though, the lyricism, again, I will always shout out Pablo's lyricism. He has a way with words that I don't know anyone else to have. Um, and he's just such a great story weaver. You know, I feel invested in the stories of this song and the last song, and obviously when I heard the original version of this song and when I heard La Luna, I was invested in, and to be fair, all of his songs, I felt invested in the story of that song and the characters within that story of that song. Um, and so yeah, this, um, I don't know, this just, you get lost in his worlds. Um, yeah. Um, whew, I can see why we need to breathe. If just so far going from imagining that in my head that we've listened in order, La Luna, then Presyon, and then this. I can see, like, if this continues, why at the end there's the breathe outro. Um, I'm just looking at it there, on the playlist. Like, I can see why, because I'm feeling very overwhelmed, and we've only in just this video, obviously, we've only listened to 2 songs, out of the 3 that, if we had listened to La Luna again. um, I think again, as a last thing, as a last thought for this, while I'm kicking myself that I didn't re-listen to the original version of the song before listening to this, in the same way, I'm glad that I didn't, because it made me, I think I appreciate this a lot more. I think I would have been too dissecty with this if I was constantly like, well, this wasn't in the first version, this wasn't in, or this isn't in the, and looking for different things and stuff like that. And so it allows me to appreciate it where it is, if that makes sense. Okay, we are going into our last song for this part, which is The Boy Who Cried Wolf. It did start playing before I could pause it. I've obviously put it back. But the opening lyric that I didn't really hear, but obviously it started playing, um, sounded very emotional. So emergency measures. I've got tissues in case this makes me cry.
Everybody telling the dwarf is bad. Ain't nobody telling when the wolf is sad.
Oh,
And because of that, the wolf is going mad.
first of all, I'm already welling up. The delivery of these vocals already, I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't emotional himself. But in the background, there's like a whoo kind of sound. Obviously, I'm not matching the timbre or anything like that, but there's this kind of like an interesting, like, it sounds like a vocal. It might not be a vocal, um, and it's almost like a defeated howl, like a howl, and then it's kind of whoo. Instead, it's like it's lost its power, it's lost its bite and spark. Oh, please don't make me cry, Pablo. Please.
Is going mad. Cause there's nobody willing
Oh, that
to
chord change.
understand. Maybe I should be more like the sheep instead. Maybe they will listen if inside I'm dead. Maybe all this maybe's just because I'm scared. Cause the truth is ugly and I'm not prepared.
I'm gonna come back to, because I noticed it's a transition. Off of the back of Walla, um, I have now had a new thought. What if at the end of the line, where the line when he tells the god to leave him alone, what if that's because in this song, he can't love himself? And so rather than what I was saying about because earlier I was talking about the two kind of like, you love yourself because you love him and you're made in his image. What if that's the reason for the end? Is because he can't, he's tried to force himself to love himself, and he can't. And so he instead tells this god to go away because of that. And now here we have this real kind of existential, what if I wasn't the wolf? What if I wasn't me? What if I was the sheep? Obviously, again, harkening back to Presyon, um, the kind of the innocent bystanders that that are deaf and blind. What if I was them? It's giving all of those kind of emotions. And here, with the admission that he's scared, it feels like it's kind of like, because he feels, he's cast this god away, so he feels probably for the first time truly alone. And so this admission that he's scared is he doesn't have anyone to go to, because he's cast his god away. This image as well is very beautiful because obviously the moon is watching over him, so there is an element that the god didn't leave him alone as he asked, but to him he's cut it off. If that makes sense. So he's ignoring that the moon is in the sky. He's ignoring the significance of the moon being there. I'm gonna go back a little bit.
Cause the truth is ugly and I'm not prepared to face myself and find that I'm the biggest lie of trying to hide. No.
The way you can hear in the way that he does the howl, because it's clearly intended to be a howl, but there's an element of a loss of power, because it's not like a woo, it's not in it's very soft and when I say the word lacking, I don't mean the performance is lacking. I mean there's a lack of support. The big bad wolf. It's that bravado that has gone. The lyric here, the biggest lie I'm trying to hide. Sorry. The story, obviously, of the boy who cried wolf is obviously always used as a story, not a story, a message to children not to lie, right? But the idea in this song that the boy is the wolf, like they're one and the same, and that twist on its head, because obviously the wolf in the story, was a dangerous creature, was attacking everyone, was hurting everyone. The idea that he's essentially admitting to at least himself that he thinks that he is the cause of other people's pain. And almost because he can't show them his vulnerable side, all of it that they see is the aggressive, the wolf-like. I love the melody of that, and then the heaviness of the chord. It wasn't just that the chord was played and the chord is the chord and the tone of the chord. It's almost like you can hear the weight of those keys coming down. like the physical like descending of the keys. Oh, this is beautiful. It's so like a final sound. Oh, and then into an actual wolf.
Ang aking mga paa na may nanginginig, naman lang nagtangkang kumilala sa aking tinig. Halos mapatulan lang ako ng litid, kahit pilit ko pang isara ang mga mata'y tumatagas pa rin aking damdamin. At sa may baybayin umaapaw na ang aking galit sa mundo. Pagsamo ko'y pakinggan niya.
I love the way that riff at the end went.
Pakinggan niya.
It didn't. It intentionally went on notes that are not happy sounding, and not only that, but it made this. It almost made this tension into it, which really kind of shows the sincerity. You know, he's, please listen to my plea. The sincerity in asking people to listen. Just the way that throughout I'm just imagining in my head like the story that Pablo is telling us, or that he's sharing with us. I'm imagining this lone wolf cast out from, you know, all that he loves and that he wanted to love him, wandering all around by himself, you know, getting lost in the forest. There's a lyric about ending up on the shore. And again, it's still harkening back to this moon god that he is, at least in the last song, that it definitely feels like he ostracized himself from. And so for him to end up at the shore, obviously, specifically the sea, is a reflection of harkening back to that, because obviously the sea is associated with the moon, and obviously the moon affects the tides, and obviously with that visual, obviously I think there's an element of him. I'm just gonna go to it. Here, sorry. Sorry, for a second there I got lost in my own thoughts and I thought I'd gone back further than I had. I'm sorry. Here where he says about the shore overflowing, there's almost a wish that it would, I think. He's very serious in that he feels that his life is over. But even now, where you know, he's still here, and there's almost like a feeling that this moon god is refusing to hear him even there. Is obviously throughout this video, the image of the moon is present in so many of these shots, and so this feels like a continuation of Wala, in that he's trying to go it alone, but there's still this tie to the moon, tie to the ocean because of the moon, but tie to this faith that I think he wants, but because it's almost like because it's not listening to him. That's the reason that he's trying to keep away from it, or that he feels ostracized from it, because it's almost like he's both the boy and the wolf, and he's trying to, in the same way that the boy does at the end of the story, call for a real wolf, and no one believes him. So in the same way, it's almost like he feels like in the same way that they think the boy is just a naughty person, a naughty kid, that he's just a naughty person, a naughty kid, and that he he wants kind of there's an element of wanting it to end, I think. This feels more powerful now.
Patawarin mo naman ako. Di ko naman inasahan to. Wala naman akong ibang gusto. Alam mo yan kahit walang ideya ang mundo. At sa kabila ng mga pangyayari, wala naman akong iba pang masasisi, kundi ang sarili, piniling isang tabi. Marahil nga itinakda na ako'y mas.
Okay, so here he is openly admitting that his decision to push the moon god away, is the reason for his suffering. I said in obviously the last song, when everything's good and everything like that, you forget about your appreciation of a god in that situation, because everything is good. And then obviously the minute kind of that he started to beg for the goodness back, obviously, again, kind of like a child, he was like, well, if you're not going to listen to me, go away, kind of thing. And then it's almost like in the kind of the story of the boy who cried wolf, the boy liked the attention that he got whenever he would cry. Well, the wolf's coming there. And so maybe there's an element of that in this as well, and that maybe he was hoping by telling the moon god to go away, to leave him alone. Maybe he was hoping that instead he would be overwhelmed by the love of the moon god, of the moon, and instead what happened was his sadness continued, his feelings continued, and so now he's kind of in this space where he's kind of like, maybe this was my fault, and maybe it was fated for him to suffer in his own mind because he ostracized himself in that way. I know I'm interrupting him mid. I'm going to play it again. The tension in his voice at that note, do do do. Obviously I'm not putting in my effort there, but that note, he's giving everything to that note. Like I can feel like when I hear, I can feel my throat like tensing up. Um, and we've gone from here from him earlier saying, "If only I was a sheep. If only I was not a wolf. Maybe everything would be good." And now it's like he's made himself his own prey. He's he but he's giving himself as an offering. It feels like in doing that, he's taken. It's almost like he's in isolating himself from everyone else. It's almost like he's given. Okay, hang on. Maybe Walla is different. Maybe the "please leave me alone" was to everyone else. Okay, new thought. He's in that building looking at the moon, and rather than it being a loss of faith, it's he's cut everything else off and only has his faith. And so when he isolated himself, he became the sacrificial lamb. He was sacrificing everything for this moon god. And now he's regretting it.
Sa mundo ang tupad sakripisyo.
Oh,
Sabi ko naman sa'yo, di lang ikaw ang talo. Di ba nga dalawa na tayo? Dalawa na tayo. Huwag mong suluin ang mundo. Lagi lang akong nandito. Di ba nga dalawa na tayo? Dalawa na tayo.
that section made me think of the story again. And he's put an interesting twist on it. Because what happens if the wolf was just a person and he ostracized himself? And what if the boy becomes the wolf in a similar kind of way? He's looking for help and he's looking for love and adoration, but he goes about it the wrong way. And so eventually he lashes out, he becomes the wolf. And so in my head, I'm just imagining like a story repeating itself. Someone becomes the wolf, they leave. Someone becomes the wolf, they leave. And I'm just imagining in my head, because I always imagine when I think of this story as like a little village or something. And I just imagine eventually, if it keeps happening, if everyone keeps doing it, eventually that village is just going to be empty. And there's just going to be wolves everywhere, lone wolves everywhere, so close to each other, and kind of, in kind of your overall space and geography kind of thinking, but so far apart from each other because they can't see each other for who they are, and they can't let their guards down. This is a plea here, from someone who's felt alone, to not just to remind himself to not be alone, but for everyone else who feels alone, to not isolate yourself. Don't put yourself away from everyone else. Don't shut the world out. Don't throw away the relationships that you have. Keep people together, because as he says, we are in this together. And I love that use of the story for this song, because it is a story, as I've said, that is used mainly as like a behavioral tool, like don't lie, and it's or else when trouble actually happens, then but it's also about, and just from seeing it from Pablo's perspective, it's also a story about understanding why the boy did what he did, why he cried wolf all those times, um, and even why the wolf, the loneliness and the ostracization, the ostracizing of the wolf. Um, I love the way I've calmed down, by the way, I think. Um, I love the way in which he's taken this story and fused it into his own storytelling and his own lyricism.
Dalawa na tayo.
Yes. I love, sorry, I know I'm gonna listen to this section again. I love that throughout the song, the howl has always gotten stronger. Even musically in the background, it feels like the actual accompaniment has been creating almost like a community. It's like a foundation. It's like, because the reason I say community is obviously musically it's lots of different elements coming together, which is what a community is. Um, and obviously, if the point of this song is not to be alone, to invite people in, to see them for everything that they are, not just one side of them or the bad side of them, isn't that what a community is? People coming together in that way to support each other. I'm loving the strings. Oh, there's thunder. I really, really like that. I really, really like that. I think what I love most about that ending, and I obviously it happened earlier with the howl. To me, it feels like it's that contrast between what we hear if we were right in front of him versus what we'd hear if we were away. And so in the same way of the story, um, obviously when the villagers hear that howl, it sounds horrifying and it sounds scary and it's, a sign of danger, run, protect everyone, da da da. But then when you hear it up close, you realize it's not a danger, it's a creature crying out, it's a person crying out. Um, and again, it's that thing about being open. It's about letting people in. It's about and from both sides. Pablo obviously is trying to let people in, but no one is, and so it's and again it's that thing of them only seeing one side. It sounds scary, so we'll leave it alone. We'll run away, rather than well, it sounds scary, but let me help, let me in, so I can help, kind of thing. I think this is going to be my favorite song on the album so far. I know I've only technically four songs because La Luna obviously I've previously reacted to, but out of these four songs, I think this has been my favorite so far, and I think it will remain my favorite. Potentially, I obviously I have the last three songs to go. I kind of want to, after I finish recording this, to go straight to the outro, because I feel like I need whatever has been promised to me in the Breathe outro. One of you, Yuri Maxwell, you you recommended me to listen to Breathe after I make my video. I don't know if you assumed at the time that I was going to do the whole album in one go and then do it. But I might, after this video ends, I don't think I'll react to that. I think, and I said this to you in the comments, I think I will leave this for the Breathe outro for myself, rather than add it to a video. But wow. Wow. I feel like with this, the way that this album is structured so far, or has been structured so far, leading up to specifically this, I feel like we've gone from seeing the side that he doesn't necessarily want us to see, because everyone already sees it in his mind. You know, the wolf, the angry, the rage, the anger, the rage. And as we've gone through that from La Luna to Presyon into, and I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering pronouncing Presyon, I'm sorry. But from Wala to The Boy Who Cried, it's like we went from that side that he doesn't want us to see into the side that he does want us to see. It's almost like this album so far has been him letting us in, and then us choosing to follow him into his dark spaces. Because we could easily make the choice to listen to La Luna and Presyon, and then turn off the CD, turn off the album, and then, you know, it's history repeating itself for him. You know, we haven't followed him in, we haven't heard him, but then by continuing, and obviously I'm going to record part 2, not straight after this, but I will be recording part 2 as a separate video. I assume that we'll get more into the kind of almost the metaphorical recesses of Pablo that he wants people to see, but that people, for the most part, as evidenced by the previous songs, have either been pushed away from, or that have just not wanted to be a part of. But yeah, wow. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this. I'd love to know what you guys think of these songs so far. Obviously, I know I've talked a lot. This is almost going to be 2 hours unedited, and I doubt it's going to come down much. But yeah, please let me know your guys' thoughts. And I'm looking forward to having this discussion with you guys in the comments. Wow. I'm still just processing everything I've heard today. I was honestly intending to record Justin's new song with DWTA. I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't know if it's like D Wata or if it is pronounced DWTA, and I think that's the acronym or the spelling. But I honestly think after finishing this song and these songs, I feel like actually what I need to do is just take some time to just process. Wow. Yeah. Ooh. Thank you guys as always for being here watching my reactions. And also thank you to Pablo for releasing this album And obviously there's the two albums that he released, um, um, Alon and then Laon. I needed to because I needed to check the spelling there. Laon, I think is how it's pronounced. Um, but obviously, thank you for this album because again, Pablo's lyricism, his storytelling, mixed with the production flavor of Rad Kids, both him and Josue, um, it's just something so special. And um, as I've said before, like I can't think of anyone in my head that is close to Pablo on his lyricism. Um, at least that I've heard. You know, you guys might be like, oh, well, no, 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 no. But from my perspective, that's a fact. Um, yeah. Um, so as I always say, thank you guys for watching. Please leave me your comments in the things down below. Um, let me know anything that you um thought about the music video. I'm so sorry. I'm struggling now to process. Um, thank you so much for being here, and yeah, I will see you either in part 2 or in another video. Bye everyone. It feels kind of disingenuous to do that too happy, but bye everyone. Thank you and bye.